of you, and thank you so much for being with us tonight. We have the honor of to have with us Miriam Yerushalmi. Miriam has an unbelievable, powerful class tonight, and we were so excited. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Wow. We have been dipping in the honey from like really since Elul, in a sense of just enjoying the king is in the field smiling at us, and everything that we've been doing is turning into sweetness. The bee actually represents like stinging, and like what stinging we've had these past 2 years, and it just turned the night before the holiday to such sweetness with such good news. And like all of us, all our tefillas, all our tzedakah, all our chesed, like we really were blessed to see the fruits of our labor. And we were like embraced by God in the sukkah after being forgiven, celebrating the 7 days like a wedding. And then came the last of the 7 days, Hoshana Rabbah, and we were like using this simple like of all the species and beating it on the ground. Most of us don't really know what we were doing, but when I read this and I decided to like really focus like my New Year's resolution on like really accepting God's kiss, because these aravos are in the shape of lips, and when you beat them, they like are kind of kissing. And since these aravos live near the water, it's like as if the moisture is coming out of these lips, and there's like this total kiss. And as I was sitting in the sukkah and I was looking at this sukkah, and like this was even like before the good news, right? I was just like, I can't get what's been going on in this world, with what's been going on with the hostages, with what's going on with COVID before that and before that. I'm like, God, I love you unconditionally, and I know I have to really love you even though I can't get you. It's like I can't get to know you fully until Mashiach really comes, but I have to work on just accepting you and loving you unconditionally. And then I was thinking, like, as I was sitting there and this whole holiday coming up about kissing and embracing and like loving unconditionally, I'm like, exactly, this holiday was all about Avas Yisrael and about loving unconditionally and having such a love that it cannot be undone. No bad news, no nothing can undo this intense love. And I was just like thinking that because the Aravos actually represents this simple person, but it's really not just the simple person, the one that doesn't have mitzvos and doesn't have so much Torah learning. There's actually a teaching that the Frieder Rebbe actually taught us, that it's someone that does have Torah and mitzvahs, because kulanu tzaddikim, we're all righteous ones. We all have good deeds, whether it's specifically done with a mitzvah, like, we shook the lulav and we're trying to like shake up all the mitzvahs that we have done the whole year and beat it into our heart as if we're like opening our heart to let God in and let it all pour in, this love of His toward us. This Aravos actually was the symbol, and I'm starting this month, the month of Mar Cheshvan, to like make sure that what we all did and what we all gathered from this love of Hashem will pour forth to everyone we know, especially some of the people we're closest to that are sometimes hardest to love. And to make sure that love that cannot be undone with Hashem is the love that will pour forth to the others, and will make sure that it cannot be undone. So this Aravos is someone who does have good deeds, but it's like a simplicity. They might not have so much passion in loving Hashem and doing the mitzvahs with passion. They might not have the Torah-based intellectual capacity to love Hashem, but it stands strong in its love for Hashem. And that's why a whole holiday was made out of it. And that's why the kissing and the moisture and the unity represents this unbelievable strong character of ours, of our people, of each and every one of us that has that quality, to make sure that our love will not be undone. So there was a story of this man who actually was in Russia, and my rabbi gave in shul, Rabbi Newman, in the Chabad of Beverly Wood, and he was fortunately in a camp in Russia where they got him to have some kind of job, and he could have his tefillin. He wasn't such a harsh labor, and he decided, like, okay, I'm gonna really thank my Hashem for this blessing. But then he didn't know what to do when Shabbos came. He was like back and forth. His rational mind was like, well, technically I can let my to desecrate Shabbat. I mean, halachically, you can desecrate one Shabbat, so you'll have 1,000 more to celebrate and keep. And his emotional was pulling him, like, no, I've never desecrated Shabbat. Like, I really don't think I can. And it was wavering from the emotional to the intellectual. And then comes the moment when they come to see, and he's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Should I say I'm sick? No. I'm going to stand for my rights. I am a Jew. I never desecrated Shabbat. And he decided then and there to say the truth. And I never worked on Shabbat. I'm not working on Shabbat. Of course, they took him. And in those days, they could take you to Siberia. Worst labor. Wouldn't have his tefillin. But he stood strong. Actually, this is the representation of the strength of every person that has this level of simplicity. Not with emotion, not with rationalization. It's like the Pintele Yid. It's like the inner essence of what it is to be a Jew. Just like we've been seeing these hostages and how they stood strong. They weren't even religious and they wanted kosher food, or they wanted this or wanted that. Ended up, so he meets up and is about to either get shot or sent to Siberia. But then all of a sudden, as the story is told to the head command, oh no, if this man stands up for his faith, I want him for the best job, because this job I've been giving to others, people have been stealing from me. This is the kind of guy that won't steal. So then he didn't have to work on Shabbat, and then he didn't have to be sent to Siberia, and he had better conditions, and he stood strong. So this message of, all the things that are going around us, and we see such simple people, but they're not simple. They have everything. They have the core of their neshama. And when push comes to, it comes out. The essence of their soul will not let go. And so we walked into Breshit, where Breshit last week, we're kind of in between Breshit that was, and right now into Noach. And Breshit actually, if you look at the letter Bet, it's the only letter of the whole alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet, that has a letter within a letter. And since, if you look at the Bet, inside, if you follow from inside out, is a Pei. Because God created the world with his mouth. And in the beginning, everything starts with the mouth. That God said, and it will be. And everything is from Hashem. But we're also seeing that he stopped speaking, right, when he created the peaceful Shabbos. So we know also that there's a time to speak up, and there's a time to be silent. And there's a time when someone that you're looking at looks like a boorish, lowlife, and behaving the way they are behaving. They're clueless. They don't understand you, which, by the way, Rabbi Roll, who's a psychiatrist and a rabbi, he wrote his book, Alone Against the World, saying that really God created a situation where no one can get you, and it's very hard for you to tolerate almost the other, because they're not getting you, and it's like you feel so alone, and then that's where the beginning of the love does seem to become undone. And we have to remind ourselves, even this person X, Y, and Z that looks like whatever, is really not as it appears. And that we, with our mouth, we can give courage, we can have faith in them, we can be their cheerleader and envision their good and not take it personally and not like crouch down and get crushed by their energy and then depressed and then who knows what else, God forbid. So the pay of Breshit, it says it all begins with the mouth. There's a pasuk that it says the entire world is sustained only for the sake of those who remain silent. Silent actually has the word listen. If you rearrange it, instead of like right away barking back or right away being triggered, we put the brakes. Brakes is blima. Brakes is in Hebrew blima, which means if you break up the word bli, without, ma is what? Like the way Moshe Rabbeinu was kind of criticized by the people and said, what are you doing taking us to this land and we have in the desert, we don't have this, that, and he goes, v'anachnu ma, meaning, and we are what? It's all God. You're barking up the wrong tree. It's all Hashem, and Hashem has a plan. So when we put the brakes, as the very famous sentence that I say for, 20 years, in silence, in the Tehillim, it says, in silence righteousness do speak. Well, some people are silent and they give a silent treatment with that dirty look and walk away and make the person feel like horrible. And then there's the silence, the break, the calming down, getting oxygen to your brain, doing, some, whatever you can, deep breathing to like really calm down. Think it through. Here you have the whole world at your hand because you're becoming silent and you're thinking it through before you react because you're so emotionally charged. And then you can speak righteously, which by the word, milah, is the word for word. Bris milah, as Rabbi Ginsburg states, is the circumcision. Like, right? We have an 8-day-old who has a circumcision. Well, we have